There was this girl, someone whose memory lingered in his mind like a melody stuck on loop. She consumed his thoughts day and night. It was during one of those long drives down the highway, speeding at 75, 80 miles an hour, that he felt the weight of it all pressing down. One hand on the wheel, foot on the gas, he closed his eyes and counted down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In that moment of vulnerability, something shifted. He realized he was searching for something deeper, something more meaningful than fleeting emotions or temporary thrills. That need sent him on a journey through belief systems, seeking truth in Buddhism, Hinduism, the Torah, the Injil, and the Bible. But nothing resonated. Then he downloaded a Quran app. As he began to read, minutes passed, 20, then 25. And for the first time in ages, the girl vanished from his thoughts. It felt like a miracle. One verse struck him with such precision, he couldn't believe it. How could it know? It was as if the words were speaking directly to his soul. And that's when the voice of Brother SQ entered the scene. A humble man from the Bronx, who described himself simply as an orphan, just a regular guy with a heavy past. His life was marked by pain, domestic violence, abuse, and the scars of a refugee experience. His father's aggression pushed their family to the edge, and one night, while the man slept, they fled. It was the eve of 9/11 when they arrived in New York. The next morning, the world changed. And for someone brown, visibly Muslim, and foreign, it became a battlefield of identity. School wasn't about learning, it was about survival. "Where's Bin Laden?" kids would yell. The ignorance was suffocating. It taught him early that being Muslim was a problem, one he wanted no part of. In his mind, Islam equaled terrorism, and he wasn't about to carry that burden. He denied who he was, told people he was Puerto Rican or Dominican, anything but Pakistani. Metal detectors at school weren't just security measures, they were stages for humiliation. A beep meant jeers of terrorist. His unfortunate nickname. At 14, 15 years old, that kind of ridicule wasn't just painful, it was identity-shattering. So he ran from Islam. Did whatever his desires demanded. Women, drugs, whatever numbed the ache. But those fleeting highs came with crashing lows. It wasn't long before darkness crept in, real and deep. He reached a point where even walking beside his mother in public felt like a shame. He'd stay steps behind so no one would know she was his. His mother, strong, patient, faithful, was carrying the weight of it all. Working night shifts at gas stations, giving him what little she earned, only to hear him scoff at the clothes she could afford. He was ashamed of her, of the struggle, of the lack. He lashed out with words that wounded deeper than he realized. But she kept praying. Quiet, relentless prayers, "Ya Allah, guide him." It didn't happen quickly. It took years. She had no formal education, yet she fought harder than anyone. Those late nights in dingy gas stations were her battlefield, and her son was the cause she never abandoned. The path he was on spiraled downward. Even when he thought he'd found love, really found it, it slipped through his fingers. She belonged to someone else. Still, he loved her. And when it ended, his heart shattered again. But that heartbreak became a strange blessing. It nudged him towards something greater. For a while, he relapsed, back to the drugs, the high life. On the outside, he looked like he had it all, money, women, popularity. But inside, he was crumbling. He found himself again on that same highway, flooring it, eyes closed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nothing happened. He was still alive, and disappointed by it. The pain had become too much. The turning point came unexpectedly, not with a sermon or a book, but in a bathtub. The water ran over him as he sat curled up, crying like a child. He didn't know it, but in that moment, he was making dua. Through sobs, he whispered to the heavens, if there's something beyond this, get me out. Show me the way. Or just end it now. That night marked the beginning of something new. The next step. A trip to Pakistan with his mother. He didn't know it yet, but that journey would help him find the path he was desperately searching for. Now on her own, my mom is ready to leave, and I say, "Mom, let me come with you, please." At that moment, something inside me shifts. I realize I need to search for something deeper, something meaningful to help me navigate this storm I'm caught in. I start turning to books and exploring different belief systems, trying to make sense of what I'm feeling, because now I know, this isn't normal. This pain, this obsession, this depression, it's something deeper. The first book I picked up was The Secret. Manifestation, positive energy, think positive and positive things will happen, right? I started looking for signs. I'd say, "Universe, help me." The wind would blow and I'd think, is that a sign? But the truth was, it had flaws. Because even though I read it, my depression didn't go away. My thoughts of this girl didn't go away. If anything, they kept resurfacing, over and over. I was stuck. One day, I wandered into a bookstore and came across a book on Buddhism. It talked about the 7 principles, the laws of happiness. I started trying meditation. I gave it everything. But how do you silence your thoughts when your mind is screaming? Just breathing, focusing, but the thoughts kept creeping in. I thought maybe positive thinking was the answer, but it wasn't working. Then I picked up the Bible and started reading Genesis. But even then, nothing was touching my heart. I found flaws, or at least, I couldn't connect. It wasn't helping with the darkness I was in. That girl, I couldn't get her out of my head. It was non-stop, 24/7. Eventually, I gave up. I thought, this is all just mumbo-jumbo. Buddhism? Man-made. Religion? All control. My mind was spiraling. At this point, I'm in Pakistan, and Ramadan is only a few days away. My mom comes to me and says, "Look, Ramadan is starting. You're going to fast, but include the prayer too. Allah doesn't need you to starve, include prayer." That's where the change comes. That hit me. I didn't even know how to pray. But her words touched me. So I prayed the only way I knew how, and I read the Quran for the first time in my life. Not a physical book, I just downloaded an app. Everyone else went to bookstores, I downloaded the app on my phone. After Salah, I started reading. Just English. I didn't know Arabic. I started with Surah Al-Fatiha. Then moved to Surah Al-Baqarah. I was just reading, scrolling. And suddenly, 20 minutes had passed, and I realized, I hadn't thought about her. For the first time in so long, 25 whole minutes went by and she wasn't on my mind. That was huge. I couldn't go 5 minutes without her haunting my thoughts. And suddenly, nothing. So wallahi, I used the Quran just to stop thinking about her. That's all it was. A distraction. A hack. I found something that worked. The adhan would go off, I'd pray however I thought I should, and then I'd read again. Because whenever I wasn't reading it, the depression would come back. The thoughts would return. But when I was reading, I was free. Even when I was with people, I wasn't listening, I was just reading the translation. And slowly, Allah started opening my heart. Because even though I was using it selfishly, I was still reading. And I'm a human with a mind, with thoughts. And whatever Allah willed for me to understand from it, I did. I'd read a verse, and I'd pause. What does this mean? I'd think deeply. Sometimes I'd zone out for so long my phone screen would turn off, 15 minutes of just pondering. I thought, this is something powerful. And deep down I started believing, if there's a book from God, it has to be this one. But I still wasn't fully convinced. So I tested it. I said, today I won't read. I won't pray. Just fast and chill. Bro, within 10 minutes, my thoughts crashed back in. Depression. The girl. It was all flooding me again. I ran out of the shower, dried off, I had to read again. This book is the key. Somehow, this book is the key. So I kept reading. And then I came across a verse that changed me completely. It said, "Indeed, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find ease." That verse shook me. I got chills. I turned off my phone. I literally said to myself, what was that? How did it know that? How did it get in my head like that? That's when I said to myself, I don't know how it was revealed. I don't understand the logistics. But this is the word of God. Ramadan was ending. My trip was ending. I was going back to New York, and I knew I'd have to face reality again. No more escape. But now, I'd read so much. I'd seen what the Quran says about alcohol, about intoxication, about zina. And I realized, I can't just go back to my old ways. I made 2 promises to myself. I won't abandon the prayer. I don't fully understand it yet, but I know there's something powerful about it. I won't stop reading the Quran. Because it helped me. It literally pulled me out of my depression. I landed in New York. My friends were excited to see me. They wanted to take me out, drinks, weed, women. Yo, we're gonna light you up, they said. They poured the shot. 1, 2, 3, take it. And I just sat there. They looked at me and said, you didn't take your shot. You babysitting your drink? And I thought, no. I can't go back. I didn't know how to tell them. I felt like a loser. I felt lame. How do you say, guys, I'm not drinking anymore? So, I didn't. Instead, I made excuses, I'm not feeling well, or my stomach's upset, or I just got off a flight. That was my way of getting through the first stage of change. The second time we hung out, it was, yo, let's smoke, let's do this, let's party. Again, I made excuses, still not feeling great. They accepted it. The third time, they just stopped inviting me. I became the boring one. But I had one friend who actually asked me about it. We were in the car and he said, bro, I've noticed, you're not drinking, not messing with women like before. Everything okay? That moment stuck with me. I told him, I've been reading about Islam. I've been reading the Quran, and I just don't think that lifestyle is for me anymore. I expected to be judged or laughed at. Instead, he was impressed. It made me realize, sometimes, when you open up about your journey, others start reflecting on their own path too. I realized something else, all of this haram, it costs. Not just spiritually, but literally. You're paying to displease Allah. Alcohol costs money. Women cost money. Drugs, vaping, all of it costs money. But dua is free. Salah is free. Dhikr is free. The Quran is free. Hajj is a financial commitment, yes, but the invitation from Allah is priceless. We're paying to harm ourselves, while the real cure is free. That same friend stayed close. He said, you can still hang with us, be our wingman, designated driver. We trust you. So I went. I started going to bars and clubs, but sober. Now I was the one driving everyone home. But something changed. I wasn't intoxicated, and suddenly I could see. Everyone around me looked lost. Hypnotized. Possessed even. Everyone trying to copy each other, chasing something empty. And I just didn't want to be there anymore. One night, I sat outside a bar while my friends were inside. A woman sat next to me and started talking. Somehow, I ended up telling her about Islam. I said, I've been learning about this faith, about the Day of Judgment, paradise, and a Creator who's one, who tests us and blesses us. And how this lifestyle pulls us away from our real purpose. She started crying. She said, "This is beautiful." Then she asked me a question I'll never forget: "If you believe all of this, what are you doing here?" And I didn't have an answer. I just said, "I don't know." She said, "You don't belong here." That was the last time I ever went to a bar. After that, all I wanted was to go home and read the Quran. Allah had taken that desire for haram out of my heart. I realized, if I want to walk this path, I need to be around people who also want this. I didn't even know they existed, until I started going to the masjid. That's where I met people like me. People who believed, who wanted to live right. It felt like home. So, in a big nutshell, this is how Allah brought Islam into my heart and into my life. And may Allah keep me on the straight path, because it's so easy to slip. It's so easy to go back to the old ways, drinking, smoking, chasing women. A piece of advice to anyone listening: cut off those old environments and friends. Because for people like us, coming from Jahiliyyah, it's like riding a bike. You never forget. You can fall back into it so easily. That's why the Prophet said to make hijrah, just like the man who killed 100 people. The scholar told him, yes, Allah will forgive you, but you have to leave that town. You need a fresh start. Same thing today. People will keep pulling you back. Come on, bro. One more drink. One more shot. Just once, for me. But the only way out is to start fresh. Change your environment. Make promises to yourself. Connect with Allah. And wallahi, it will be hard, but Allah will make it easy, inshallah. What became the purpose of my life? Dawah. I couldn't stop talking about Islam. When we love something, it's natural to want to know everything about it, and share it. That's what Islam became for me. Because Islam pulled me out of my depression. It saved me. And I know so many people who are suffering silently. They need this too. So I ask Allah, use me. Let me be a means for this deen to reach every home on earth. How long has it been since that change? Around 12 years now. Alhamdulillah. I'm still a baby in the deen. There are still ups and downs. But I'm on Tawheed, and that's what matters. Yes, I still slip, I still mess up. You can't erase years of Jahiliyyah in one night. But Allah is Ar-Rahim. He forgives. Shaitan will whisper, you're a hypocrite, you're a munafiq, it's too late. But no. Allah loves the sinner who repents. So turn back to Him. He will take care of you.